This spring, 37 new doctors in Athens, Georgia had their fates sealed in these envelopes. Inside is the decision that will determine where these new physicians begin their medical careers. During students' third and fourth years, they apply for medical residencies, interview with programs, then rank their top choices. These residencies train them for the types of doctors they will become.
Hello, I'm Katie Ball. What you're about to see is a glimpse into the lives of Athens' first medical class as they wrap up their final semester and make plans for their future. A future that will hopefully include the extra training they need to become practicing MDs. Students are at an annual event where they will soon discover where in the country they will train. This announcement ceremony is known as Match Day. The hard work put in to make this day possible was evident from the beginning.
In 2010, a partnership was formed between Georgia Regents University in Augusta and the University of Georgia that brought the first medical school to Athens. Since then, students have been actively involved in the community, providing free health services to citizens in one of the poorest counties in the nation. From day one, the health and medical journalism graduate students at the University of Georgia have been following their progress. You will see students' struggles over a 4-year period as they tackle the grueling task of med school and find out if it was worth it. These future doctors spent hours studying, taking tests, and working directly with patients before letting their fates rest in the hands of a residency program. Student Ashley Austin sums up this experience.
First year is pretty much book work, as we call it. We kind of have a couple introductions into clinical skills, but it's mostly just like lecture, small group based learning, anatomy, that sort of thing. Second year is it's kind of split. You get to do a little bit more clinical skills, working on how you're going to see patients, talk to patients, getting histories from them, and starting on physical exam skills. And then you're finishing up the remainder of your, small group learning, coursework, that sort of stuff. And then third and fourth year, which we like, are all clinical years. We do have a test after every rotation, which is kind of like a mini board exam over the various specialties. So, we do everything from OBGYN to pediatrics to surgery to medicine. So you really get to see all the specialties and kind of figure out what it is that you really want to do. And we have these blocks of time called electives where you have 4 weeks to do something that may not be on the scheduled required rotation. So if you want to do something that maybe isn't represented in one of the other rotations, you can try that. So it's a time to kind of feel your way out. And usually by the end of third year, or halfway through even, we were getting kind of pressured to kind of start deciding what we really wanted to do. And then you start the second half of third year applying for fourth year away rotations if you're going to do them outside the state, because fourth year we get to kind of travel around a lot. And if there's schools we really like, we can do 4-week rotations in those at their various departments. Fourth year is really just a lot of traveling. You're interviewing. There's a few required rotations, but mostly it's just kind of positioning yourself for match day and positioning yourself to be successful upon graduation and getting a job.
While more students are heading to Athens for medical school, many start for different reasons. For some, the process is seamless. For others, like Hamad Islam, who had to start a year later, it may take longer to achieve their goals.
I know that people have doubted me in the past. People still continue to doubt me. They look at me, they judge me. And I've always just wanted to be, over the past 5 years, I've always wanted to be seen on a level playing field as everyone else. May 23rd, 2009, I was coming home from looking for housing in Augusta, and our vehicle hydroplaned and hit a tree, and the tree came, collapsed, and fell on top of me. Initially, I was in a coma after the accident, and apparently I was in Augusta for 2 weeks at the MCG hospital, which I cannot remember at all. I can't remember the day of the accident. I remember even deciding to go to Augusta that day. To check out housing. I don't remember anything. I don't remember the 2 weeks after when I was in Augusta in the hospital. And I just remember my best friend, he was saying how when I was there, the physicians weren't even talking about spinal cord injury. They weren't even talking about me being in a wheelchair or spinal cord injury. And they were all just really stressing the brain injury that I had, and that it would be a miracle if I was even able to, be normal. The hardest part was probably just everything. I had to get used to being in a wheelchair, living by myself, taking the wheelchair in and out of the car. That took a lot longer to adjust. Getting ready in the mornings, getting ready for bed, in addition to trying to study as much as I could. It seemed like it was more of a self-fulfilling prophecy. I knew I had a traumatic brain injury, and I didn't know what the effects it would have, and it just made me so insecure at the time, and incredibly insecure, and I had really low self-confidence. I would see my classmates, and I thought they were all better than me. They're all pretty amazing people, but I just had really low self-confidence. So just getting over that hump, and then realizing I was on the same level as everyone else. I wasn't dumber. I just, it was just me being so insecure. I just love being out with my friends and doing everything I used to be able to do. I can't go hiking or biking anymore, but I can still go on picnics. I can still play tennis. I can still hang out with my friends and watch movies and play poker just like I used to be able to do, and I do that a lot.
Pull me towards you. Just flex. You can push me away now.
After my accident, that's when I decided to, actually pick the specialty of physical medicine and rehabilitation. On March 21st, we find out where exactly we match, and that's a very nerve-wracking thing for everyone because I applied to places that are all across the U.S., and so I could end up here in Georgia, or I could be all the way in California. So, who knows? I'm not sure yet. And I'm already thinking about, the next step in life. I know I'm trying to enjoy it and just trying to wait it out, for the results to actually come out before I start worrying, but I think everyone's worrying already.
Hamad beat the odds once. Can he do it again? As a doctor, Bree Berry expects to build long-term relationships with her patients. What she didn't expect to find, however, was a long-term relationship of her own. While she may be finishing up her final year, her boyfriend, a third-year medical student, still has another year to go. How will who she loves affect where she matches?
I guess I've always been interested in primary care as long as I've wanted to go to medical school, which for me has been for most of my life. I'm interested in primary care because of the relationships it allows you to build with your patients. Hopefully, for some patients, relationships that would span years. Even as a pediatrician, you would span a child's entire youth and adolescence, or with family medicine, you could treat someone for years and decades, hopefully. So that long-term relationship is what is my primary interest in primary care.
We met when I was second-year medical student and Andy was a first-year medical student. We had a bunch of mutual friends in medical school. When we were that year in medical school, there were 80 people in our school, so we would have met each other eventually anyways, but that's when we started dating. So we've been dating for 2 years and some months now. When I came to rank programs, I applied to programs in Washington, D.C. because Andy might end up in Washington, D.C. He's a third-year medical student right now, doing a naval program, and he'll be going to a Navy residency when he graduates, and one of them is in Bethesda, Maryland, Washington, D.C.
I guess it's hard knowing that she's going to move away for a year, no matter what, and knowing that depending on where she matches, it could be longer than that, 3 years or more, that we wouldn't live in the same place. So it's hard because when we started dating, obviously knew sort of somewhere in the back of our minds, I guess, or I knew in the back of my mind
Yeah.
that this day would come, that one day she would be matching and going off to residency and I wouldn't be going, and that we could try, but we wouldn't know that we would be ending up in the same place for a good amount of time. But now that time has arrived.
The day is nigh. The first year started off the hardest, just trying to understand, or just trying to learn how what I needed to do to get through the week and to get through each module. And then the second year became a lot easier because I was more in the routine of what I needed to do to succeed at school. Then the big board exam at the end of second year was a very scary and intimidating mountain to climb. You feel like throughout second year you're climbing to that, and then when it's over, that's the biggest relief. And then third year is exciting and challenging, trying to find your way in the hospitals and in different doctors' offices on clinical rotations. But I think overall it was just exciting more than anything. And then fourth year was a whole nother mountain to climb with applying to residencies and then doing clinical rotations at the same time. And then tomorrow will be the top of that mountain, and after that it's all downhill from there. So the end goal, I guess, for like the next several years, I mean, if we're talking about what we would like to happen, would be the match to a city in Washington, D.C., or match to a program in Washington, D.C., and hopefully then be happy in that residency program and learn a lot. And then hopefully Andy would match to Bethesda the next year, so we'd end up in the same city. And we both get really good trainings and become good doctors. That's our goal, is to be happy and be in the same city and be good doctors.
We wish Bree and Andy the best. Ashley Austin became familiar with the inside of a hospital as a kid. As a med student, the things she saw then now hold a different meaning. Being the first in her family to attend medical school, this experience was new for both herself and her mother and father. Although her parents were near, Ashley's tight schedule kept her far from home.
I pretty much always knew I wanted to go into medicine. Growing up, I had like a lot of family members who were sick and going in and out of hospitals in Atlanta. So I was oftentimes in hospital waiting rooms and that sort of thing. It was really strange because most people when they go in hospitals, they're really kind of like nervous, really unsure, don't really like the atmosphere that much. It's kind of stiff. I absolutely loved being in the hospital. I was very curious about all the machines, and I really liked the collaboration that goes on with medicine. You know, you got the heart doctor working with the lung doctor who's working with everyone else. Just a team model for the workplace. I chose orthopedic surgery. I had an interest coming into medical school, but it's hard when you kind of already like something and you try to keep an open mind when you're doing your rotations. Like you're like, okay, I really like this, but let me make sure this isn't also something I, could be happy doing. I did try to keep an open mind. I think at the end of the day, I found orthopedics to be very challenging. You can read a textbook all day long about how to fix a fracture, but if someone comes in the middle of the night and they're going to have something you've never seen in a book before, and you kind of have to improvise some, so I thought there's a lot of creativity with it. I definitely knew doing my clinicals that I like more hands-on stuff rather than, being in the clinic every day. It kind of was like a process of elimination that I really came down to. I'll be doing this when I'm 60 years old, so I want to make sure it's not just a quick, I don't know if I like this, because I'll be working for a couple of years, that's it. This is like forever.
For me, it's been exciting. It's been an interesting process. I have a greater appreciation for what my own physicians have gone through to get to where they are. I never thought about all the hard work that goes into becoming a doctor, the constant testing, the fact that you have to really excel. I have an appreciation for the excellence that's required because it makes me feel that not just anybody can become a doctor. That was really interesting for me.
For me, it was exhausting. I lost my daughter. Every time I talked to her, her head was in a book. We did a lot of things together, and I kind of lost her, and I missed that. I'm used to it, but at first it was hard to get used to not being able to talk to her, not being able to see her. But basically, I guess it kind of goes away after a while. After a few years, it kind of goes away.
We're only an hour away, but it could have been 15 hours for the amount of time we were able to visit. I mean, the fact that physically the driving distance was only an hour, but because of her schedule, she didn't have the opportunity to visit, and she really didn't have the opportunity for us to just drop by. Every day, every minute was scheduled.
For me, it's going to be great, because I can always call her and ask her stuff. And like I do now, my fear is that she will end up working in a third world country, living in a tent with a dirt floor, not getting paid, because that's the kind of person that she is.
So I think the majority of the pressure has come from Well, a couple things. So the school, for one, we're the inaugural class of the school. There's 40 of us that are coming through, and we're all, it's kind of hard to hide in a group of 40, if you don't match. So I think that's kind of the pressure. Everyone's wanting everyone to match. It's the first year we're doing it. It's going to reflect on the school for the first time. So I think that's a lot of pressure, and it's easy to get caught up in that. It's going to be absolute chaos.
Chaos is one way to describe what's happening here in the building behind me. Right now, students are counting down until noon when they can get their hands on a single piece of paper that will determine their future medical careers. It's been a 4-year build-up to this one moment, and the day is finally here. Let's see what happens to our 3 hopefuls.
3, 2, 1!
My name is Hamad Aslam. I matched with a few other people over at the University of Alabama, Birmingham in physical medicine and rehabilitation.
Hi, my name is Bree Berry and I'm going to Georgetown Pediatrics.
Andy was very excited. I think I cried and he refrained from crying, but he was just as excited as I was. So it's what we were hoping for, and it's what we got. So we're both very happy.
So I'm going to New York, to see my family because I have family up there. My aunt doesn't know yet. I haven't called her, but I'm going to call her. It was past her bedtime last night. But yeah, I'm going to call her and tell her that I'm coming to visit for like a little while.
What's the school?
Albert Einstein in the Bronx, New York.
Yeah, let me know if I can
It's going to be awesome.
You've heard the stories of 3 prospective doctors, but altogether there are 37 starting their career. Let's see where some of the other students are headed.
For those of you who don't know me, I'm going into psychiatry, and I'm doing residency at Brown University in Providence, Rhode Island.
I'm Brett Kodish. I'm actually at the University of Connecticut, and to this beautiful girl, Dana Cecina, who I just proposed to.
Zach West. I'm doing a transitional year in Birmingham next year, and then ophthalmology at Emory University after that.
Match day turned out to be a success for this inaugural class. Family and friends gathered to help celebrate the good news. From programs in pediatrics and child neurology to internal medicine and psychiatry, students were placed in medical residencies across the United States. Texts were sent by students to absent loved ones, and T-shirts were decorated illustrating the next stop on their paths to becoming physicians. Everyone's journey will be different. Let's take a closer look at where each of them is going and what they will be doing.
The next step for these future physicians is graduation in Augusta, Georgia. In anticipation for residency, some will research, some will work, and some will rest. But in the end, they will all save lives. Be on the lookout for them in a hospital near you. I am Katie Ball, reporting on the Health Sciences campus for the University of Georgia.
It feels really good. I mean, putting it on, I know that this doesn't mean I'm any more official than I was like 5 minutes before I put it on.
I expected medical school to be hard, obviously, but I definitely didn't expect it to be this hard.
I'm sure all coffee drinkers say this, but I feel like I don't really, I'm not addicted. I'm not addicted.
Like it's been eons since I started on IV. So when we get back to doing that on each other, that'll be, you know, I'll be a little rusty. But don't tell anybody I said that.
The first day that I was in lab, I didn't want to touch anything. I looked and I had to focus on breathing and not passing out and not throwing up.
You know, we're about to be third years here, thrown in the hospital, so hopefully we're paying attention. Hopefully paying attention in the last year because we don't want to like kill anybody or anything, so.
Still here?
You'll get a moment where you're not stressing out about boards, and then someone else will be stressing out, and then you're like, oh no, I forgot about that. Now I have to start stressing out.
Basically, we've all kind of bonded together because it's kind of like you're either going to drown by yourself or you're going to grab onto other people for sport.